honestly, that was the first thing that came to my mind because I've spoken with many people that are in the medical industry, and a lot of them have left or have either completely cut ties with the pharmaceutical industry completely.
Mhm.
And I'm not in the industry, so I don't really know what goes on. You have more experience with this than I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what happened was that I was at the peak of my career. Like I was the director of the division and carrying on all the research and academic work like teaching, mentoring and everything. Then
Mm-hmm.
we had a change in the administration with a new chairperson, and she somehow said I was a star performer and all she wanted me to do was basic research. Now, basic research was not my forte. My research was more clinical. So I thought about it for a while, and that particular position was not sustainable for my well being. Like I would have had to start from scratch in a totally new, different direction. Although I was halfway there, but that was not all I wanted to do. And because my husband was also entrenched in his career, I
Mm-hmm.
chose not to leave town to go somewhere else to seek another position in academia. I chose to go into private practice. And after a few years of private practice, I just didn't feel challenged enough. So I said I have to think about doing something else and wind down my medicine part of my life.
You
So
went
that's when,
to you went to school though for quite a number of years to get your degree and your
yes,
PhD,
yes,
correct? Yeah.
not PhD, I'm an MD.
MD. My apologies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
See, I
no
told you I'm
problem.
not very
Yeah,
familiar with all these
yeah,
things.
yeah.
Okay.
And I practiced for about 40 years. That's,
40 years.
yes,
Wow, that's a long career. Did
yeah,
you so mind me asking, you were talking about, were you working for a clinic, like a hospital, before that whole fiasco happened?
yeah. I was working for Children's Hospital of Michigan and I was a tenured professor at Wayne State University.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, honestly, that I can just, it's hard because when you go to school for so many years, right? And you spend so much of your own money to get there. And then you have these people that just come along and they're like, you know what? Sorry, we're just going to do whatever the hell we want. We don't care. And it's like completely disregarding the fact of how much effort and time you've had to put in order to be there with that experience, your level of knowledge and expertise. And then just some random person just comes along and is like, no, nope, sorry, goodbye.
Yes, that
It's
happens in
difficult.
life. Yes, it's very difficult. I learned to handle it because I wanted to do it in the best way possible without
Right.
disrupting our family life.
Oh,
And like I felt at that stage of my career, if I went to a new academic place and had maybe 30, 40 more papers to my name, it's not going to make me or break me. So I was already quite ahead, with all those accomplishments. So I said, and mind you, I was able to still continue to do research even while I was in private practice setting because of my reputation. But it's just that the workload and the setting and all that, it was not all that challenging. I
no.
enjoyed teaching and mentoring and all that, which was
Yeah.
not possible in private practice, although I did have some floating students, but it was not the same.
Well, I know with private practice, because there's a level of understanding that there's a capture of corporate America, the pharmaceutical industry, where they make it extremely difficult for people that want to be private. Where you have to take care of all the insurances, you got to take care of all the paperwork, and if it's not all of the paperwork, then you have to have your staff that you have to take care of, and then there's the constant changes of HIPAA, right? HIPAA regulations that constantly change year after year. Like, when are you going to have any time to do anything when you have to deal with all of those things at once?
I have to tell you though that this is not just for private practice, it's for academic setting, it's for medicine everywhere. All
Yeah.
this total regulation and getting permissions to do this and that and all that. And
Yeah.
for those who abuse it, I mean, there are a few who abuse this kind of a thing. But overall, medicine in America has become so defensive because people are so scared about having lawsuits slapped upon them that even though I feel somebody's abdomen and I feel comfortable saying that nothing is going on, if somebody didn't have my experience or confidence, they might want to order an ultrasound or a CT scan and, oh, I just want to make sure nothing is going on. That kind of thing, that's where we end up spending more money because
Yeah.
we are being so defensive instead of, because people have become very litigious also.
Yeah.
It's not just a one way street,
It
and
goes both ways.
yes, and the tolerance for people or parents, I should say, to see their children in any kind of discomfort or pain is so low that if a child hurts for 10 minutes a day for a few days, they just want an answer.
It's
They just
something that
can't wait.
it's something that we've become very accustomed to. Where I heard this from a doctor, and it was very interesting. We been dealing with a situation with my mom. We went to this doctor that doesn't have malpractice insurance. Okay,
Yes,
and that is something that not that many doctors are going to do, but he did it because he's the type of doctor that I'm doing what I'm supposed to. You got a problem with that? Go right ahead. But I know what I'm doing right. The mind manipulation game of, well, you need it because, you have to spend only 15 minutes with a patient. You immediately you hear something, bam, you throw medication at it. Bam, you get paid.
mm,
Bam, they're out and you're done and you're finished. Great. Next person, next person. Instead of, why don't we spend 15, 20 minutes with the patient? See all of the different problems, the different ailments. What's the practical approach? What's the right approach? What's things that we could avoid, right?
exactly.
Does anybody talk about that? Does anybody bother to even mention that sheer fact that's going on right now? I don't think so. There isn't enough people.
There isn't enough people, there isn't any enough time with the
No.
time slots that are, and that's why I was enjoying my tertiary care setting because I used to have luxury of time. Because many times you have to understand what the family is going through to deal with the patient because there may be other dynamics behind that causes what we call psychosomatic symptoms and things like that.
Yeah.
And it all takes a lot of weeding out and general feeling of well-being that you assess when you are dealing with a patient. I mean, a lot goes into it, to come to that kind of a conclusion or
Yeah.
decide what next to do.
You need
So
time. You need
it's
time,
it
which is
there's got
something,
to
yeah.
be sympathy, empathy, and practicality in dealing with patients.
Yeah. 100%. How did you how did you take all of that with you? I mean, I know that you said you spent 40 years within the industry. Where has that led you right now? Like, where's your mind right now currently?
I I just changed it to a different field, but I didn't lose the groove. I kept the groove of healing with me, and I'm still in the healing groove. So what I used to do by through medicine, now I'm trying to do through my art.
Oh, wow.
So I create art that is calming and healing. My art is in some public spaces like corporation, hospital, and college campus. And I continue to make art that I find that people will find calming and helpful for public spaces,
Yeah.
because through those kinds of artworks, I am also trying to fulfill my missions. And some of my missions are empowering women, gender equality, helping people with mental and physical illness, like kids with autism. So I have connected with some of these charities, and I donate a portion of the proceeds from the sales from my website to these charities that the customer can pick. of the choices there. And
Yeah.
that makes my mission very fulfilling, and I feel I'm continuing my mission of healing,
Yeah.
as well as other fulfilling other purposes for the society.
Oh, for sure. It definitely it takes you. You know, I think something that we as an American society have become accustomed to is a pill. A lot of the times we look at solutions as, you get an SSRI, you get this medication, but believe it or not, there are other types of medication. There's exercise, there's nature, there's art, there's music, there's human connection. Believe it or not, surprise, surprise, you connect with other people that can actually heal you
Yeah.
tremendously.
Yes.
Um, and as a person that, like, I grew up in a cult community, like, I've been around people that have been traumatized. There is a sense of healing you get when you connect and be there with others, whether, like, you were saying, through art, through creativity, or even through your own mind. You
Yes.
don't always get that with a pill. It's not that simple.
No, and that's the kind of message I want to share with your audience at the end, is how different cultures can open up your thinking, and
Yeah.
you can find healing and creativity in everyday things, or learning from different cultures like Buddhism, Hinduism, all that. So that's the kind of message I'm going to share with your audience later.
It's very well it's very well important because you bring up a good thing, especially with Buddhism.
Yeah.
There was I remember, I forgot his name. He has a podcast. It's called Secular Buddhism. He was talking about how death is like a flowing river, and you put the lotus, like a lotus flower, on a lily pad because they float, and it rushes down the river. Now, it has two paths. Are you going to be able to be fast enough to decide where that flower is going to go down the river? No. You physically have no ability. If it's the middle of the river, you're going to try to, but it's going to choose a path.
Yeah.
Regardless of what that path it chooses, you have to accept it because those are your options.
Yeah.
You know, Understanding, like, limitations, probability, and being realistic at the same time all keys into one, which
Yes.
is it's okay to be in pain. Like, I don't know why, like, pain free doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. Sorry. Wrong planet, wrong universe, wrong realm. There's no
Yeah.
such thing as pain free. Let's get that myth out of the way. Doesn't
Yeah.
exist, right?
Yeah. That's true.
Why do you think
Yeah.
that is? Maybe if you want to elaborate a little more on it.
Well, I don't, I'm not a practitioner of any kind of religion or anything, but this is just my general philosophy,
Yeah.
in the sense that I travel a lot. Okay, so when I was in Southeast Asia, I was in Myanmar, and I had the opportunity to see a Buddhist camp. So this is, they have a ritual that when kids are between like 8 to 14 years of age, they are sent to this Buddhist monastery for a week or two, or even longer if the child chooses to do that. And while they are there, they learn all the basics of the philosophy of Buddhism.
Mhm.
So I saw them perform certain rituals. Like, one was, young monk was bathing in nature, like, outdoors with his red clothing on, and he was pouring water from a jug on top of it and doing it. And I happened to take a picture. Then there was another one with the monks walking inside the Buddhist temple, and going towards Buddha, like spreading light. And another one was a teenager was sitting and reading a big, like a book of principles of Buddhism.
Yeah.
And I really like those scenarios and situations. There were many more also, like them having fun as well as not just doing the rituals. But I created a series with these paintings. So these were more realistic paintings,
Mm-hmm.
and but that kind of, to me, transmitted the thoughts that, when you are with the nature, you're cleansing yourself, you're purifying yourself with water. The same way you can let water ripple around you and send your own aura, into the world too. When the
All about the artist. That is the whole purpose of this podcast, period. And you have a really valuable tool. You can share this with artists, people that are creative, someone that can enjoy this podcast and really enjoy the experience of Lost in the Groove. So, with that, let's jump back to today's episode, shall we?
the person is reading, you can find your focus, and if you concentrate, you can find peace and you can learn anywhere. It doesn't have to be on a desk, on a chair, and things like that. And spreading the light, that's something that has to come from within. Like, you have to feel to want to be a good human being, spread, good deeds around you,
Yeah,
practice being a good person. Then I think you can find peace and quiet and creativity anywhere.
yeah. I think to your point, it's the understanding the world is not going to be a kind place. It never is. But it's what you can take from it that can give you that level of peace and enlightenment. Almost where, you know, let's be real with ourselves. We live in an age where more and more people are on SSRIs. I mean, the list just goes on for depression, anxiety, when I think a lot of these things could just be solved with taking a walk or connecting with other people or finding people that you resonate with. I I'm speaking as a person that's from experience from others. I've seen the bad side to a lot of these things. And I'm very much in the mindset currently where there's got to be better solutions than just medication. There has to be.
Yes, but you have to be persistent with it and you have to be disciplined about
Oh, yeah.
practicing those kinds of
Yeah.
lifestyle.
It's not like one, two, three, you're done, you're finished, you're
No.
great for life. No, it's not how it works.
So I think it's fine to practice these kinds of alternative treatments personally and professionally. But if they
Mm.
don't work or they are not enough, then certainly I think medications have a big role in
Yeah.
helping build a society or have that person become more normal and be part of the community.
It's like your last resort. It shouldn't be like your first thing you jump to, is what you're saying, right?
No, what I'm saying is it's a very personal decisions, but
Right.
if it is at a mild stage or early stage and you sense it and detect it, and you can start taking proactive measures, like being more healthy in mind
Yeah.
and body, because to be healthy in mind you have to be healthy in your body, and do more exercise and get all those good dopamines and serotonin flowing inside your body. And still, if the level of disturbance is to an extent where these kinds of holistic approach is not enough, then I feel certainly they should seek more professional help, but take
Oh,
care of
yeah.
themselves.
Yeah. No, what I 100% agree with you. What I was getting at a lot of the times, people might say, and I've heard this from even people that I know personally, where, oh, I didn't know or I wasn't aware of. I think like a level of awareness of like knowing all of your options, understanding like the benefits of, I'm just giving this as an example because it's pretty common, is SSRIs, benefits, for example, doing energy, getting up your dopamine and serotonin levels. But there seems to be like almost a lack of education that there's anything else besides. You know what I mean? I mean, come on, we come from a time where people thought Diet Coke and a salad from McDonald's was healthy. And we've
Hey,
we've outgrown that, right?
In our society and community, first of all, there has got to be acceptance of mental illnesses.
Yeah.
These are things that can happen.
Oh, for sure.
Once you have acceptance of it, then you can take all these steps. So first of all, the person and the family have to be stop being in denial that something like that is happening. And I'm sure there are more qualified mental health experts who can comment and talk more about it.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about in general, as even a member of the community, that once the awareness is raised, that's why one of the foundations I support is No Shame on You. They deal with raising the awareness and acceptance of mental illnesses in the community.
Yeah. 100. It's something that could touch on personally. I'm a person that deals with dyslexia and learning disabilities. And I grew up in a society where I had to teach myself a lot of different things. And it's a learning curve, but at the same time, like I was talking with a friend of mine that she does social work and she deals with kids that have autism. There are parents that literally create like this bubble around these kids, like almost as if like they go outside, they're going to shatter into 1,000 pieces, like as if they're made from glass. And we were talking about how, like, again, each case is their own scenario. I'm talking about specifics, but in this case, we're allowing them to kind of grow and being able to figure out on how to be able to adapt to the real world. And also, again, having that understanding, like, hey, there's certain things we as parents need to be able to do. And sometimes, you got to put in a little more effort because, it
Yeah.
is a special needs kid. But I turned out fine. I'm perfectly normal. I'm able to function in a perfectly normal society. Um, I think there's also that limitation, to be kept. I don't know. I'm just from my own personal experience, from what I've seen.
There's a whole range of this autism spectrum disorder.
Oh
Okay.
yeah,
And I recently gave a talk to the World Health Organization about the effect of art on neurodivergent population because there
especially
are
ones
very
that are
few.
nonverbal, right?
Yes,
Like the ones that can't talk.
yes. And there is a whole lot of expertise, and there are some autistic geniuses, you know, like
That's how they
I
talk.
think, I think Elon Musk and Bill Gates, and they are all perfect examples of, neurodivergent
Mm-hmm.
population.
Mm-hmm.
There is a Japanese artist called Yayoi Kusuma, and she creates everything with dots. And right now, even at the young age of 94, she's still so much in demand. And just recently, a brand like Louis Vuitton approached her and they created luggage with her paintings, design, and things like that. So, just having that stigma doesn't mean that you are automatically in the bad end of the spectrum. You
Mm-hmm.
can be in the middle, in the good end of the spectrum. You may have a mild manifestations, and sometimes you may not need any intervention at all, and sometimes you may need a lot of intervention to be able to be performing um,
Yeah.
like um, efficiently in the
Yeah.
society.
Oh, for sure.
So it's really a wide range and such a diverse topic that there is no one answer to some of these issues.
No, there isn't. But you bring up a great point. I mean, I've worked with kids. I used to work for a camp where I used to work with a kid that was nonverbal,
Mhm.
and the way he used to communicate was through colors. And he used to love to draw. And kind of his sign language was, depending on what colors he was using or what he was using more heavily, you can kind of get an idea of like how he was feeling. It's almost like a different level of communication. It's like where you have those instances, and then you have those that are, they're nonverbal in the case of they can't express themselves.
Yes.
You
But they
know?
can express in a different medium, just like you
Right.
said, he picked up in colors. And
Hmm.
all those colors can reflect different moods that that person is
And what
feeling.
they're wanting or what they're
Yes,
needing. Yeah.
yes.
Oh, it's wild. I just, you hope that there's more levels of awareness. I think that the way to be able to heal and the way to be able to connect is very much not only for yourself, but like, I mean, you're talking about parents that have their own kids. You know, look, we don't live in the healthiest society. Let's be honest. Like, there's probably stuff that we're putting into kids' bodies that are probably causing a lot of issues that we're dealing with. Let's just be real for a sec. But I think that there's almost like a aura or something that's given off. What the parents are going through is affecting the children, and then how it's affecting the children is affecting the classrooms or their environments they're around. And it's like a ever growing aura of just stress, anxiety, depression, and it's a lot. It's a lot for a lot of people. Let's be real.
Yes, it is. It is. And I think all these things have to be worked at the grassroots and slowly raise awareness about all these. And it can only happen with education. So, good education is really the basis for, or the foundation for improving the overall mental health and well being of the society.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, for yourself, I mean, you mentioned that you're married. You have kids.
Yes, I have two sons.
Oh wow, that's wonderful. And did you go through this whole experience with transitioning in your career while you had children, or this was before you even had kids?
No, all this happened much later. I have become an artist only for last 8 years.
Oh
Before that,
wow.
I was fully entrenched in medicine. So
So you,
when I had my kids, I was just finishing my training and getting on to into the specialty training or fellowship.
but I mean that definitely, even for yourself, you're dealing with, right, a career, and then at the same time you have family life. You have a husband to care for, you have your kids to care for. Being able to balance those things out does give you a level of what's the word, like a higher up almost, where you're able to take that and use that as skill, experience, what you did wrong, what you could have done right, and use that now pushing forward for the career or direction that you're going with, right?
It really required a lot of resilience to balance everything. So I'm so glad that I had it cultivated early on in my life, and it's proved to be very helpful and fruitful in continuing my journey. Like during this reinvention from transitioning from being a medical doctor to considering being a visual artist, the initial years were extremely frustrating because it's not easy when you don't haven't learned the basics of art through a school program or have had a degree. You just start with some drawing lessons and you try to create some likenesses of faces with drawing or painting. It's extremely hard and frustrating, to
Yeah.
be totally honest with you, but I kept on at it, and as I went on more and more, I turned more and more to semi abstract and abstract representation of whatever I saw or whatever I felt. Sometimes I even put feelings on canvas, creating artworks that reflected whatever feeling I want to portray. I had to experience it, go through layers and layers of paints and other materials, to carve
Sometimes you
out
go
what
through
looked like.
hundreds before you get to the
Yes,
final one, right? Yeah.
yes, yes. Many layers. So it's a process, and it's all about the process rather than perfection.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think also, it kind of, if you think of some a level of artist like Picasso, Picasso was not always an abstract artist. He did create very realistic pieces, but he completely changed his career, and that's what he did for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Being able to learn a whole new format. I mean, in your case, it's basically, having your whole life is one way, spending, immense amount of money, taking care of a family, going through all of these experiences like transitions and resilience, and then bounce yourself into a completely different direction. Not many people can, you realize this, like, not many people can do that, right? Like, a lot of people will chicken out after just a few weeks of trying, if not a few days.
It it really required a lot of determination to keep plugging at it, but I'm glad I did because the results have been very immensely satisfying because I take part in many of the national and local competitions. I'm showing my work in group shows and galleries online and locally.
You're connecting with
I have,
people.
yes, and I have won many awards, and it just feels as if I'm on my way in the right direction.
You're taking the new step. Basically, you're turning the page to the next chapter.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think there's a level of where art is not meant to be kept, it's meant to be shared. There's a reason why people love musicians and artists, and people that have created music for God knows how long. It's because it's being shared with other people. I think that's kind of the secret ingredient to artistry, is that connection that you have with other people. Because otherwise, it does. I don't know what else you would call it then, right?
You are right about that secret sauce, but I think that sauce is with the viewer or listener depending on the kind of art
Their
you
input.
practice because there is a lot beyond just the visual art in the field of art,
Oh yeah,
like motion and dance and music and knitting and everything else, sculpting. um, so art is really comes to fruition when someone else admires it and feels they want it to be a part of their own environment and they would like to look at it again and again. I think that's the step when an artist's journey is really fulfilled, that someone else admires it to want to own it. And in fact, whenever you take a piece of my art, you're taking a part of me because I put so much into it, hours and hours, thoughts, emotions, everything in it before I felt it was done and somebody else likes it. It feels very nice.
yeah. I can imagine it. It's it's kind of wild because when you think of, even particularly with abstract art, a lot of times it's in the eyes of the viewer.
Yes.
One thing I remember hearing, which was, it's really wild when you hear this, that what I see and you see are completely different. The colors you see is completely different than the colors I see. So if
You're,
you could take your eyesight and move it to another person, you would see the world completely different. We don't, none of us see the world exactly the same.
yeah.
That is wild.
Yes. And you are totally correct in saying that. Um, and I will expand on that quote a little bit
Oh,
more
sure. Please.
because um, when you see art um, or make
Hey, it's Dave, and I quickly just wanted to jump in and say, if you've been enjoying the podcast and enjoying this episode, if you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, that'll be so greatly appreciated. Because here's the thing, someone might read that review and make the choice if they want to listen to the podcast. You get to help grow this podcast with us. How fucking cool is that? Let's jump back to today's episode.
art, the healing or the meditation happens both for the maker of the art and the viewer of the art. So, like studies have shown that even when people go to galleries or museums to look at the art and spend a couple of hours there, they come out feeling different and in somehow calmer if they like something. But it is such a personal thing that Some person may only like representational art and they will not like abstract pieces, and
Mm-hmm.
someone may not like that representation because then you are fixed at looking at a particular face or a thing or an animal or a scene, and they may like abstract art because the beauty of abstract art in a way is that when you see it from different angles and different lights on different days, depending on your frame of your mind, you may see something new every time you look at it.
Yeah.
It may happen with representational art also, but I think it's more likely to happen when there is no particular form to visualize that resembles something
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I one of my favorite forms of art is psychedelic abstract art. And a lot of forms of psychedelic art started coming out in like the 1960s and 70s, very reminiscent of Art Deco, like 1920s and 30s. The idea of it was not to be at all realistic. That's the whole like premise. The idea is to try to create almost a drug infused hallucinogenic experience within an image, like almost like looking through a kaleidoscope, right? And you
Yeah,
getting like, oh, I didn't see that there. Oh, that, to your point, like there are going to be people that are like, nah, I'm not interested in that. I want to see something else. But there is a connection to that kind of, the same way with a lot of different forms of art that you personally cannot explain to another person what you're experiencing. You could put it into words, but is it exactly that? I beg to differ.
yeah. Once you see it, you have to feel something in you to
Yeah,
really experience it. And if that piece makes you feel something, then the mission of an artist is accomplished.
yeah. I feel like it almost leaves like a ghost memory. It's like a way of where if you ever come back or you ever see it, there's like this feeling that rushes back to you.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if there's a scientific term for it, but there should be.
About researching the memories of past experiences or something, you mean?
Yeah, I mean there is I think even a level like even physically that memories can have on a person because there are ways like I've seen this even with older people, particularly with my own grandparents, when they're able to see pictures or when my grandfather, he's 92, when he snaps and remembers a memory when he was a child, like he was like 5 or 6 years old, like it flushes back. He's just going on for
Mm.
5 to 6 minutes, describing the street, the ball, what time it was. And you're like, this is almost 90 years ago, like almost 90 years ago.
Yeah. It is like a surge, a power surge that just
Yeah.
comes through,
Yeah.
and you just have to deal with it and let it out, and you will come out feeling much better.
But you do realize that there is that level also with people that see your art or connect with your art, that there is those times where people can either reminisce or go back.
Yes.
Um, because again, like honestly, I feel that there is this immediate lock that artistry has on a person that never really leaves you if you connect to it.
Yes, you're right. Because sometimes you go to the museums and you want to go and go back and see that one painting again and again because it moved you so much.
Hmm. Or you can get the big enough paycheck to be able to buy the painting for $400 million. Not all of us are Shaq O'Neal, but I just, even for myself as an artist, it's sometimes so hard to be able to separate because sometimes when you get yourself into that artistic flow,
Mhm.
I don't even know if that's the right term, but I call it artistic flow.
No, I think that's a very correct term to
Yeah,
be in a flow state. Yes.
yeah, and it's almost like, don't disturb me while this is happening. You're like, you're locked out of the world and you're just connected in the zone. You're like, oh my God, it's been 5 hours. Oh damn, it's almost 8 o'clock.
I know. I still
Yeah.
haven't made dinner.
You get those reminders. But I don't know. I don't know what it is. Like, there's certain things that our brain does that doesn't make any sense sometimes. For example, like with artistic flow, or we're just immediately able to change ourselves like 180 degrees, just completely. There are people who be like, "Oh my God, is that you?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah,
I don't remember you like that at all. But
yeah.
I don't know. It's an interesting part of how our brain chemistry works, even pertaining with art.
Yes, when you get in this kind of a flow state that you're describing, like get in a zone, you really have to lose yourself and you have to leave your ego and any specific constructive phase of like you can't just look at a line and all. You just have to get in that state and just make your strokes or colors and lines and shapes and everything and find the answers or something that pleases you or strikes as being, oh, now it's done, now I'm able to see what I want to see or what I want to show.
Yeah. You mentioned about being in Southeast Asia. One thing I'm more familiar, like for example, in like Japan or Korea. I think they also have this in the Philippines, where they create these ceramic pieces, like ceramic pottery, and they painstakingly like paint into the pottery. You look at these pieces; some of them I think take like months to make,
Yes,
and you have to have some level of patience because you're just sitting there 8, 9, maybe 14 hours a day, just doing a section that big.
yes. um, some of them, like many of the paintings with the small miniature marks, and they all take a long time, and it is a painstakingly patient person who is doing it,
Hmm.
and that's their livelihood. It's like
Yeah,
weaving those silk carpets that takes years to weave.
yeah,
They turn out to be such fine quality. So not everything can be accomplished in art in a matter of hours or days. Some things, like even creating music or choreographing a dance and writing, for example, literature, the words, that has to go through so many edits and revisions before you feel that it's ready to go out in public for
yeah,
others to see and enjoy or admire.
yeah. I mean, even touching on with music, there are, I don't know how it is anymore, but I know like back in the day, there were artists that would go through tapes. I
Yes.
mean, boxes of tapes before you had a final draft. Sometimes like 215 times before you got to the final. And it's not because the 215 were bad. It's that you had like almost this spiritual connection. Something is missing. You just
Yes.
do it again, and something's missing. You do, and over until you finally get to that one. You're like, okay, this is. I feel
Yes.
it. I feel it now.
That's what the directors do, right? In the movies, cut and take again
So many cuts.
until they feel they are able to capture or the actors are able to display what they want to capture.
Yeah, it's all about being able to move. It's getting into that motion
Yes.
where you know what the problem. It's so hard to explain. It's like, what the problem is, but you can't put your finger on it. And then as you get closer, you're starting to get like a better understanding of why you're so far away. And then like when you finally get it, I sometimes be like, "Oh my God. Oh my
This
God.
is,
This was not that hard or as difficult as I thought it was. But it took that long to get there, you
yeah.
know?
This is where you get the gut feeling. Yes, this is it. I
Yeah.
got it done.
You gotta trust. People's got to trust your gut feeling a little bit more. I feel like it's one of those feelings like don't ignore it when you feel it. You ever have like been in an instance you're like you get this bad gut feeling and you just go through it anyway and you're like that's gonna be fine and then it's not. It's really not fine. It
Yeah.
happens all the time.
I think many times it's better to go with your first instinct,
Oh yeah.
whatever that gut feeling gave you, rather than choose the alternative. But these are such scenarios that differ from person to person that
Oh for
you
sure.
can't really generalize it or rationalize it for anyone, because how the mind works and what happens, is beyond something we understand at present.
Yeah, I mean for sure, but I think there is a level of spirituality that comes with it. I mean,
Yes.
there is it's coming from somewhere. I don't know where, but it just like literally out of nowhere. It just here you
Yes.
are.
Yes.
Um and I don't know. I think that there's almost another dimension to what we physically see with art and what we connect with. Kind of like what we've been talking about. It's almost where something spiritually about making that and then spiritually with our bodies. There's like almost like an attachment, but we don't it's like we know how to turn it on and off, okay? But we don't know how it's made, where it comes from, or what it is. That's like the ultimate mystery.
It is. It is, and uh, I don't even think AI can solve that.
I don't think so either. We
Yeah.
want to believe that, but no, I don't think
Yeah.
so.
The human brain has to stay above AI.
I because like to your point, AI is very much artificial and physical,
Yes.
whereas you're dealing with something that's spiritual. I'm not saying that you can't get AI to a more spiritual level, but the same way, this is I kind of heard this from a neuroscientist. We the universe, Mother Nature, in many ways is like it's like a it's like a supercomputer. Okay, it's an organic supercomputer that, on a molecular level, is able to put different compounds together to create different things. And if that is the case, if it's able to do that organically, okay, so it doesn't need to have any mechanical or electronic component. It does all of this naturally. I think there is a level of sophistication that we as humans are limited to how much we can reach that.
Yes, we just have to feel lucky that we are born as human beings and we have so much available to us that we can use and learn and make better and make all these inventions and discoveries. But to try and solve it all, I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime.
But there is, when you look at tribes and indigenous people that have spanned thousands of years, they seem to have a level of connection to this organic supercomputer better than we do. One great example I was thinking of was in the Amazon. They have organic soil called terra preta that is human made. It's a human made soil that is self reproducing. So it never
Oh,
degrades and there's no problem of topsoil. We don't know how they did that. We don't know how they make that. There are tribes today that make it. They don't know how to make it. They don't have a recipe. They just make
oh,
it.
oh, okay. I was not aware of that. That's very
Mhm.
interesting to know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there are certain things like that where is it because those people were more connected to our planet, more connected to the stars, the way our seasons have changed than we are? Possibly. I mean, we have changed tremendously as a society in 120 years.
They're definitely more grounded, those who live more out in the nature.
Yeah,
But everybody wants to adopt, and they should, all the modernities of life, like when a proper shower and all that is available, why should you be sitting in a dirty river and washing yourself?
that's how we got the
Things like
plague.
that, except as an experience, for a short time.
Yeah,
Um, so I have traveled to Africa also, and they take us on a visit to this original village where they are all supposed to be still living and wearing all those original aboriginal clothes and all. And you know that underneath they are wearing shorts and t-shirts and everything, that which they should be. Why should not they be availing of all the modern amenities while maintaining or showing the traditions the way they were? But for them to claim that this is how they still live, I feel is a kind of falsehood.
oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I've had the opportunity to speak with even Native American tribes, and a lot of the members of, they have chairmen, they have councils, they wear boots, they wear a nice pair of jeans, they wear a button-down shirt.
Yes.
Some of them will wear pins depending on their tribes. For example, Cherokee Nation, Navajo, they do things like that. They have different rankings, but they're still Native Americans. They still hold on to whatever traditions they still have left. They do powwows, they have gatherings and things. It doesn't make them less of people,
No.
quite the contrary. But there's something that these people, like you were talking about your experience in South East Asia, that they bring this connection of nature into our real world setting. We're like, oh, okay, there's something behind this connection to nature that inspired us as people and in
Yes.
many ways enriched us as a society that I feel that we kind of lack from today because of how, with all of our technologies and everything that we have.
That's true.
Yeah.
But it's up to us to see to what level we want to cultivate and at least get back to the nature to enjoy it more and to learn more from it and try and preserve it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Um, with everything that you've learned over the past, you said 8 years you've been doing your art.
Yes.
What are the things that you personally have felt that you've learned from it, and things that you've grown from it in the past 8 years?
Um, I have grown as a person because by meditating with art, my tolerance and understanding and patience has increased. I have even become even more resilient because when you enter competitions and shows and there are awards given, um, what you thought you put in your best artwork may be totally rejected or not even accepted at all.
Right.
But you have to persevere, and if you believe in it to be a good piece, you submit it again to somewhere else, and it may win the best of show. So even the jurying or the perception of the person who decides on the awards, it's so subjective. Like I was in a show recently where I had submitted a couple of pieces. One was abstract and one was kind of an abstract portrait. And the juror was a portrait artist. So she liked them all, but she didn't select any of the pieces that were not portraits for any kind of awards except for a scene. So I'm saying that it has taught me that I should not give up at any stage of this process because what seems perfect to me may not be perfect in somebody else's eyes. But it's my process of making it, the experience I'm going through while making it is what is the fruit for me.
Yeah.
And whether it wins an award or whether it goes in a gallery or someone else's home is totally subjective based on the person's experience by interacting with it.
Yeah, you're always, this is the thing, and it's hard to be able to swallow. Not everybody's going to see your success or what you create as good. There are going to be people that are going to say, "No, I don't want to look at this. No, I'm not interested." But
Yes.
you can't focus on those people because there are people that want to listen. There are people that want to see, and there are people that want to experience that. And what you bring up is very true because sometimes that's a setback where, well, nobody wants it, so I guess I'm just going to stop.
Yes.
I honestly I could say the same thing about this podcast. I've been doing this for 3 years, you know, and it it's not about hard work. It's really not. It's about resilience and staying consistent. Like you were saying, is if this doesn't work, fine. You move on to the next. You keep on doing what you have to. But that's it. You can't tell me if I'm wrong. Sometimes I feel like you could push yourself to such a level where you have no energy left. You're completely drained out. You've no more ability to do anything else. And why put yourself in that position to begin with? How does that benefit you?
I think what you're describing is a burnout,
Yeah,
but
pretty
but
much.
yeah, but burnout tends to happen. I think it was more likely to happen in academia than it is in art, because the process of making art is somehow so soothing that I have never felt that feeling.
Good.
At
Yeah.
most, I have felt the feeling that, hey, why aren't there more than 24 hours in a day? So I could just work some more,
You
you
got to go
know.
to a different planet for that.
Yes. So somehow with art, I have never experienced it. I didn't experience it in academia also because I was a go getter and I always push myself to do more and more and learn more and more.
Yeah,
To
agreed.
help others, because while mentoring, I many times gave my projects to my students and fellows for them to do something so they could go and present at a national meeting and earn recognition, publish that paper. So, sharing and experiencing joy of making it or teaching something and doing something for someone transcends any of these burnout and fatigue.
Oh, 100%. And I agree with you. I mean, I think even with academic, I mean, I'm in trade school currently. And if you do something that you want to do and you find a level of passion, I even find with my own classmates where, you know, I have experience with electrical more than they have. So I'm able to give that input and insight when they have a hard time figuring out certain things. I'm able to explain how things work. And yes, it's hard. And there are moments where you feel tired and stressed. But the whole idea, and I think this is important, like the whole idea of a burnout is you're doing something wrong. If you're getting to that point, it's the same way where you don't change your oil in your car for 30,000 miles.
Yeah.
And then you start having your car not turning on. You didn't change the oil. You were supposed to change it like over 20,000 miles ago.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Maintenance and re-energizing your soul and mind is very important.
it is. You mentioned the beginning of the episode you wanted to leave off um with I think you said a Buddhist message, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, it's about the magnet is about finding things in different cultures during travels, and I think it kind of talks. I mean, it signifies that no matter where you are, you can still practice things, find good in different cultures, look at things with different eyes. So I have some paintings of mine from India and from the my visit to Myanmar in there with some guided exercises, and I think it will give a lot of pleasure and help them grow in mindset of calm.
I love that. uh Let me ask you something. I know that you have a website, you have social media pages.
Yes,
Do you want to walk me through a little bit with your website? Where can people find you? Where they can find you on social media?
sure. Um, so I'm at www.vasutolia.art, VASUTOLIA.art. Tolia, all one word,
Okay.
.art. And my magnet will be on www.vasutolia.art//lost in the group. I have many different types of paintings on my website, and they are categorized by like nature, abstract, small pieces, paperworks,
The one
like that.
behind you, did you paint the one that's
Yes,
Oh wow.
yes,
I've been wondering that the whole hour. I was gonna
yeah,
ask you, I was like, did you make
yeah,
that? That's
yes, I did.
beautiful. Oh
Yeah,
wow. Are those what kind of flowers are those?
they're just kind of poppies, and this
Yeah.
one has been published in a magazine called Art Ascent, and it
Mm-hmm.
won the bronze prize on that
Oh,
that
very
magazine.
nice.
Yeah, yeah.
You did you make them separately? So you painted the one in the middle and then you painted the ones that were on the side?
Yeah, actually, they were all separate pieces. And once my grandson was talking to me and asked me that, "What are you making?" So I showed him, and he said, "Daddy," which means paternal grandmother, "Daddy, put them side by side. Oh, don't you think they look nice?" I think they look very nice. That's a great idea, Veer. I'm going to do it and put them all together. Sometimes an
Wow.
external voice, an untrained child's voice, just gives you the insight into it.
I to be honest, if you didn't tell me that, I thought that they were apart. They were one painting, painted on
Yeah.
three different panels. That's
No, they,
amazing.
yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, you see, you know what? Honestly, that's something maybe subconsciously you didn't even realize it. Subconsciously, you could have just made it like this originally, but it took your grandson to finally tell you.
Yeah, and he saw them together and he just commented on it. And that was kind of like a revelation because I'm just working on it. I don't look at it outside the box for some time
Yeah, for sure.
like that. Yeah.
uh,
And another thing I wanted to
yeah,
just mention is that, when if they like something, they can definitely choose it and choose the charity they want to help me in my missions, and hopefully it will make them feel more fulfilled too.
for sure.
But I have many more paintings than what are on the website. So if they have something specific in mind, they can definitely contact me by joining my email list or sending me a note and make a query. And I'm happy to make some custom art pieces for people too if they would like.
Oh, for sure. I mean, hey, we got a little preview for anybody that's watching this on the YouTube. So you got an idea of what art is available, and like you said, everything is on your website, and you even do custom pieces, which is
No, not everything is on it because you can't put
oh,
300-400 pieces there.
oh my, you've got 300 to 400 pieces.
So,
Wow.
it confuses people. So I rotate them. I will
Okay.
keep some on for 6 to 8 weeks, then I will change them
Okay.
depending on what
Nice.
is sold and what is, next that way.
Awesome. Yeah. You know what? It keeps it fresh too. If you didn't
Yes,
make it for the first 6 8 weeks, gotta come by for the next round.
yes,
Do you have any so I know you have your website. Do you have any social media pages like Instagram,
yes.
Facebook?
On Instagram, I'm at Tolia Vasu, my last name first and then the first name. And on Facebook, I'm with my full name, Vasundhara Tolia. Hopefully, you can share that link in your from the podcast.
Yeah,
Uh,
for
yeah,
sure.
and I will also provide you with this magnet link so
Okay.
they could go there and get it.
Yeah, I usually stuff like that I can put it in the uh if you check the description to this episode, it'll be all in there, and then on YouTube just put it in the comments section.
Okay.
Um but yeah, I mean honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure. There like stuff like this is sometimes hard to talk with everybody because
Yeah.
there's like expertise and lack of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just a really great like honestly I really appreciate it where a little bit of medical insight and just complete life change that seems to be doing really good for you. I'm really happy.
Yeah. No, thank you so much, Ken. It was a pleasure to be on your show, and thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure. Well, listen everybody, this has been Lost in the Groove. If you want to find us, we're on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Lost in the Groove Pod. So with that, catch you on the next one. Bye, everybody. Yeah.